Osio Tehiju, this is Firebird Gray Wolf of Native Voices, Turtle Island. Um, every other day, I try to host someone from a different tribe. And today I was told about this wonderful young man named Glen Morris. My friend Raven raves about him and thought he would be wonderful for the show. Hi, Glenn. How are you?
I am doing well. How are you?
Oh, I'm fine, sweetheart. So glad to finally have you. I know your schedule is busy. You work on the weekdays and you tried to fit me in. I really appreciate it.
Well,
And
it's truly an honor.
yes, yes. My first question is, what nation are you?
I am of Shoshone and Mohawk descent.
Oh, wow. That's from one
Yeah.
extreme to the other.
Yes.
Would you like to share a little family history
Um,
as far as the connection? And by the way, where are you from and where are you now?
I'm originally from Pocatello, Idaho, named after
Oh,
the
okay.
chief Pocatello of the Shoshone,
Oh,
and
bless your heart.
I currently live in South Carolina.
Oh, you live in South Carolina.
Yeah. So then
Oh,
again,
yeah.
there we are again, another extreme, one extreme to the other.
Yeah. I saw some of your videos you were sharing about hurricanes and how's it like, for you down there with that situation?
We've been hit by some pretty big ones. We had Hugo back in '89. And
In
so
'89?
normally when the hurricanes come up the East Coast, we're right up in that Grand Strands. They normally like to swerve right into us.
Oh, wow. Wow. It does a lot of damage, huh?
Yeah, yeah,
A lot
we've
of
seen quite a
damage.
bit.
Yeah. Did people lose homes and things like that?
In that one, yes, there was a lot of damage in Hugo. Like I said, that was back in 1989, and I remember going to Myrtle Beach right after that hit, and it was just completely leveled.
Right. I have a niece that lives in South Carolina. She loves it. She doesn't, do you have that same experience? You love it?
Um, Honestly, for a long time, I didn't. You know, I'd always kind of been a Westerner in heart. I've also lived in New Mexico. I think that's probably my favorite place in the country. I love the
Where you
desert. I
said
love the
Mexico?
Southwest. New
You said
Mexico.
Mexico. Oh, New
Um,
Mexico.
yeah,
Okay.
southern New Mexico. I really
Yes,
enjoyed.
I know some people that live there as well.
Okay.
Okay. When you were a child, were you aware of your heritage? Was it practiced? A lot of people are telling
Yes.
me it's coming into their own.
Yes. It was. My father really kept the heritage alive in me. Being that we moved here when I was such a young age. Um, you know, my father was definitely very prominent in my life with the
Really?
Native American culture. Yes, absolutely.
Would you
And
like to share any of that? Because it has to do with your teachings.
mainly he just kept kept a lot of the old traditions alive. He really kept a lot of traditions alive in it. Being outdoors, all the stuff that he had learned as a child up in Idaho, because that's where he's originally from as well. And sharing all of his knowledge of that time and from his grandfather.
How were the indigenous people treated in Idaho to your remembrance?
Oh, wow! To my remembrance, I moved away from there at such a young age that
Hmm.
it's really. I guess it would be really unfair for me to make that judgment on
Oh,
how
okay.
people were treated at that time up there. I have gone back in my adult life and
Hmm.
visited a few times.
Uh,
You know,
are they doing powwows there? A
yes,
lot of.
the nearby reservation was Shoshone Bannock Reservation,
Uh-huh.
Fort Hall, and they have an amazing powwow down there. If you ever get the chance, check that one out. It's a really, really big powwow.
Yeah, that's awesome for the audience to know, because a lot of places they give powwows, and then other towns they don't give powwows, and
Hmm.
people get very homesick for powwows. So it's
Yes,
nice, you know. That's like our church.
yes, absolutely. The very first time I had actually ever performed was at a local powwow here for the PD tribe,
For the
and that
who
was my
tribe?
the PD.
Oh, okay. Yes,
Yeah,
yes, yes.
yeah. I've played at the PD tribe powwow, and I've also played several other powwows along the way up in Tennessee. Um, let's see, Tennessee, Oklahoma,
Oklahoma,
Texas, New Mexico.
New Mexico. You gotten around. So,
Oh yeah, I've been to a lot of powwows around.
well, you can always share, so we can get interested and come.
Oh yeah.
That's
Um,
very nice to know.
you
What
know,
led you
I
on the road? Go ahead.
well, I was going to say I'm also one of those that gets homesick for the powwow trail as well.
Yeah, yeah, we love it.
Hmm.
I do a lot of powwowing up in the New York area, Long Island area, New Jersey area.
Hmm.
We all come together and celebrate in a big way up there.
Oh
So,
yes.
because of COVID, are the powwows shut down or they're coming back?
Since COVID, I haven't seen too many powwows taking place in this area. The closest one to me is the Waccamaw tribe, and I
Wakamatra.
know that yes, ma'am, over in Aner, South Carolina, towards Myrtle Beach, between here and Myrtle Beach, and
So,
I know they shut theirs down for COVID last year. I'm not sure if they're going to be doing it again this year. I really hope they are because that's a fun one to go to.
yeah, they're just opening back up on the New York tri-state area.
Mhm.
They kind of wait and play it by ear, and then they, tell people that they're gonna have it, so everybody's excited. They did a little
Oh,
bit
absolutely.
last year, a little bit last year, but not too much. Some tribes only had the powwows for their tribal members, and they
Hmm.
didn't let the public in, for safety measures. You know,
Oh yeah.
yeah. So that's very good to know. What led you on your road to playing the flute? How old were you? What got you inspired?
I had heard it when I was a child. I had heard the flute, and I just really fell in love with it. Um, when I as I got older, I was started listening to more and more of it. R. Carlos Nakai, of course, was around back in the '80s and '90s. He was a very big revolutionizer in the Native American flute genre.
Okay, what is his
And
name again for the audience?
R. Carlos Nakai.
Oh, oh yes, yes, he would come
Nakai,
to.
yeah, everybody knows Nakai.
Yes, he was very famous in New York. He would come in
Mhm.
fellowship with us, and very, very nice person. Very nice. Greatly missed. So that was your inspiration.
Yes, big time. my father had gotten a couple of his tapes, which were Canyon Trilogy and Desert Dance. And I remember when I was about 13 years old, so about 30 years ago, we were sitting around one day and we were listening to those albums, and I remember just sitting there and just, oh, I was so taken by it. And I remember telling him, I said, one day I'm going to do that. That's what I want to do. If I'm ever to play an instrument, that's the instrument I want to play. And it was real funny. In fact, I give him a lot of crap for this. He actually looked over at me and he says, "Oh man, you should pick up the saxophone. A saxophone player always has a job. I don't know what you would be able to do with a flute like that." And well, it's not about what I'd be able to do with it. I would love to know what it feels like to make those sounds. I would love to know what it feels like to make that music. It's so beautiful to listen to. I can't imagine what it feels like to pour that out of your soul. And so every time
Right.
I do something with my music, I always make sure to give my dad a call. He's my biggest fan. um, in fact, I actually started recording because of him. We Every time I would visit him in New Mexico, he lives in southern New Mexico still, and every time I would come down, we would go, and there was a store down in Old Mesilla called Del Sol, and they sold a lot of Native American music. And so we would always pick up CDs and everything. I was a truck driver at the time, and he said, you know, I really love how much this takes me back. It takes me back to a time that almost feels lost now. And yeah. And honestly, when I'd come into the flute, like I said, when we were listening to our Carlos Nakai that day, I was 13 years old. Honestly, I didn't come across a flute until I was 33.
Oh,
Um,
wow. Really?
so yeah, I spent my whole life wanting to do this, and finally got the opportunity um, to come across one. I'd never held one before, and I remember when I was in the place and I saw one, and I asked the lady, "Can I try this?" And she pulls it out from behind the glass case and hands it to me, and she says, "You better be able to play this. I mean, yeah, no stress or anything." So I actually stood there and started playing, and it was like it just came so natural to me. And that was actually during the honeymoon I was on for my previous marriage. So I kind of felt like I had a little bit of that tradition of the courtship of the instrument had kind of come out. So yeah, ever since I picked it up, I mean, there was just no turning back afterwards. Like I say, it was a lifelong dream. And while I was out on the road, I decided, you know what, I'm gonna record a CD for my dad. And I didn't plan on pressing it or anything like that. I was just gonna record it on my laptop and burn it onto a disc and hand it to Dad so he could do his woodworking. Or he's got a very beautiful view of the desert where he sits and over the town that he lives in. So he's got a very amazing view of the Oregon Mountains in southern New Mexico. And I was, okay, yeah, I'm going to start recording an album and give it to Dad, And about halfway through recording it, which I actually recorded it in the semi truck that I was working in, living in, I got snowed in one day for 9 days with no heat. Yeah, with no heat. And
Wow.
someone had given me a little bit of information on how to record. And, honestly, with the way that the cold was beating me down. And,
Oh,
I took that opportunity to focus my mind on something else. And so I started recording my very first album.
wow.
I would say I was almost finished with it, and I'd put some music up online, and the flute maker that had made my flutes came across recordings that I'd put up online, and asked me to be on his monthly newsletter. And I was like, wow, okay, I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't ready for that. I wasn't planning on doing anything with it but giving Dad a copy. That's all I was expecting to do with it. And so I ended up pressing it about a year later, almost a year later, about 9 months later. I ended up pressing the album because I had set up a Facebook page for my music, and there was only about 30 people there, but I wasn't really trying to gain an audience. I had
Right,
friends
right,
and
right.
family all over the world that wanted to hear what I was doing, and that's what it was set up for. And just one day, it just blew up and took off, and all these people started coming in and enjoying the music and liking what I was doing. So I said, you know what, I might. And a lot of people started asking me, well, are you going to release a CD? You should really release a CD. And I said, well, I have recorded one. And so I recorded it, and not long after, I actually went on to my second album and my third album. I just recently released I say recently, last year I released my fourth album, which
Mm.
and the albums that are actually concept albums. They tell a story. They tell two stories. They tell one set back hundreds of years ago, and they also tell the story of what I was going through at the time, because a lot of that was played from the heart. It just came out naturally. It wasn't, a lot of those songs weren't things that I sat down and practiced and practiced and practiced. Some of those were honestly me freezing in a truck and saying, okay, I'll hit
Oh no.
record and try this out.
Oh my.
So it actually tells the story of, you know, oops, it actually tells the story of my take of the Cocapelli. And that was
The
the,
Coca-Cola, yes.
yeah, the Hunchback flute player. It was
Hmm.
actually my take on that, because I always like to think of, beyond beyond the myths and legends. I like to I like to think a lot of, you know what happened to tell these stories. And so,
Yes.
they actually tell my take of a young man who's playing his flute, and really coming into age, and finding where he belongs in the tribe, as far as whether he's going to be a scout, or a hunter, or straight warrior. He was trying to find his way through that, and try not to give too much of the story away. um, but it ends up to a point where he ends up where he is alone, full time, and on his own, and he
Right.
needs to find somewhere to be that he really belongs, and wanders around and wanders down and ends up in the Southwest. He goes from the there we go. But he
There
goes
you
from the plains
go.
down. Yeah. He goes down from the plains to the Southwest and comes across some traveling flute players who were the Cocapelli. And in the reality of that, that was really me coming into the Native American flute genre and meeting friends. That's what that symbolized. And so, for actually what was supposed to be on the first album was several duets that I had recorded with other flute players. And those were actually recorded for that first album, and I kept saying, no, it's not the right time. It's not the right time. I actually held on to those recordings for 7 years, and
Wow.
actually just released them last summer on this fourth album, because it was time to tell that part of the story. And those were
Hmm.
flute players named Ron Duff, Glen King, Jeff McMullen, and those are I think, some of the most awesome songs I've ever played was with
Ah,
those guys. And they really stepped me up a notch. They really taught me a new way of life, just as in the story. And shortly, after I recorded the third album, which they still hadn't appeared on yet, I actually started performing, and I was started on the Powwow Trail. I played for the PD first. I played in Tennessee, I West Virginia, Virginia. Um, then again here in South Carolina, I stepped out of the box with it a little bit and played festivals and played coffee houses and played a lot of different things. And I've played with a lot of different. I've collaborated with a lot of different artists. Everything from outlaw country. I've played with Tennessee Outlaw Country, and they have a song that's been on the radio called Trail of Tears, where I'm actually the flute player in the background. And they've
Really?
actually been talking to me about another song that they're wanting to do that I've been invited back in. I'm kind of like an unofficial member of the band, sort of.
Adopted, huh?
Yeah, I've been kind of adopted in. Yeah. Um, but I've played from everything from, outlaw country. I played with reggae bands. I've played with a lot of different people, and, I enjoy it. I really,
How
I
was
didn't
that
think
experience to play with a reggae band with a native flute?
awesome,
That must sound really
awesome.
awesome.
Yeah, it went really well. It went, in fact, the band I played with, they had asked me, okay, well, we'd like to have you on one of our songs. Which song? We're not recorded, but it was a live performance. They said, which song do you think you would want to jump in on? And when I told them, they were like, that's a fast one. You want to jump in with that? And I was like, yeah. They were like, well, we've never heard you play fast. And I was like, trust me, I've been practicing. We've got this. And we went out and did that song, and they were just, blown away. And so was I. I was actually really impressed with how well that flowed together.
Now,
Um,
are you completely self-taught,
yes.
or how does
Um,
that work?
I, I'm completely self-taught, but making music with the friends that I've gathered along the way has taught me a lot. Ron Duff, I learned a lot from him. The first time I met him was an amazing experience because we were online friends, and he had always told me, if you ever make it into my area, let me know. Okay. Well, there was one day like I said, I was a truck driver. I was over the road truck driver, and I called him up one day and I said, you know what? If I hold it with if I hold it and push it as far as I can today, I might end up in your town. And so I
Mm.
did. I had a perfect day on the road, which is something I've probably only seen twice in my entire career. And yeah, I ended up in his town, shut down in his town at the last minute. And he came and picked me up and took me to his house, and he had an amazing collection of flutes. And the next morning we get up and have breakfast, and he's like, all right, have you ever played in a cave before? No.
That's interesting.
So he takes me down to Merrimack State Park in Missouri, and we went into a cave, and it was
Wow.
honestly my first time playing in front of another person, much less a flute player at the caliber that he was playing in. Oh my gosh, he's an amazing flute player. And yeah, not only was I playing in front of somebody for the first time, but another flute player, and it was a duet, and we played duets in that cave for hours. I mean, it was truly an amazing experience. If you've never heard Native American flute in a cave,
I can imagine.
that's that's a good spot to find out about that in. The natural acoustics were amazing.
Now, you did performances at the Henry County Museum. Did you do storytelling, Native American, or
Oh, it was all
what?
flute music. Hmm.
All
Yeah,
flute
it was
music.
all flute music, and that's actually where I released that last album. That was on that day. Yeah, down at the Horry
Oh,
County
okay.
Museum in Conway, South Carolina. Um, and that was actually kind of a funny situation. Me and my girlfriend at the time, we had an online, or we didn't have an online business. We had an independent business. We worked for ourselves, and I was making a delivery to the gift shop because we had some of our products in there. And I had asked them, like, "Hey, would you guys mind if I played flute here in the museum?" Just because the acoustics were amazing in there, and
Mhm.
they said, "Yeah." Well, I actually noticed that they had an auditorium off to the side.
Mm.
And so I kind of slipped into the auditorium and shot a quick video. There's a video of that up on my Facebook page, where I'm up on a stage, and yeah, so I kind of slipped in there, and uh, don't know if I was really allowed to do that. And checked out the acoustics on one of my flutes. I brought two in with me, and this guy comes in and is kind of surprised I was there because I was just packing up, and he was, "What are you doing in here?" And I'm just leaving. And I said, I just wanted to see what this would sound like in here, and door was unlocked. So, and he said, "Well, I'm going to lock up the doors, but if you wanted to take a second to play around and find out, then you know, yeah, I guess go ahead." And I said, "Okay." Um, I said, "Well, I did hear this one flute, but I didn't hear this other one that's really concert tuned." So I started playing that while he was making his rounds, locking the doors, and and he came back up to me and he said, "Wow, because I normally have this little small amplifier here, which is actually made for the instrument." Oh, there we go.
Wow,
It's
that's
actually made
awesome.
for the Native American flute. As you can see, it's got
Really? What is it
yes.
called?
This is a Litec, and only one
Okay.
person makes these. This
Only
this
one
this is not
person.
like some. Yeah, in fact, if you see right in the middle there is a Native American flute, right where it says
Wow.
mini effects up right up under it. And yeah, I normally have this thing hooked to my belt loop. And he was like, "Wow, all that came out of that little amplifier?" And I said, "Actually, no, it's not on." And he said, "That's what that instrument naturally sounds like in here?" I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Well, I'd like to talk to you about maybe booking a concert." And I said, "Oh, yeah, sure." And so we had booked a concert, and then actually COVID hit a couple weeks before, and we weren't able to do it. And last year, one of the ladies from the museum had called me up and said, "Well, we're starting to open things back up again. Would you like to do your concert?" And I said, "Yes." It
Wow.
was over a year. It was over a year later. Yes, I would.
Wow.
And it was a good turnout. I was actually very impressed with the amount of people that came out to see it, and it was such a fun crowd. And I'm actually trying to do more things like that, where I'm actually playing concert halls and auditoriums, because that was a very fun experience. In fact, it was a friend of mine was out there, and he said, well, a storm came in the middle of the concert, and
Wow.
Native American flute and thunder go beautifully together. He said, when that first lightning struck and you could hear that thunder, he said, "Man, you had the biggest grin on your face when you were up there playing." I said, "Oh yes." He said, "In fact, you got really into that, didn't you?" "Yes, I did."
Wow. Now, the flutes. There are
Hmm.
several different flutes. Do they have different pitches?
Yes. I actually own 25 flutes. They're not all here
Wow.
with me now, but I always have several on me. Um, and this one is in the key of A, and this is made by Tree of Life Designs, Ed Daughtry. Um, amazing, amazing craftsmanship. This one has an amazing voice as well. This one is a Wood Sounds flute, and this was made Actually, this was custom made for me. A friend of mine had this custom made for me. This is
Wow, beautiful with the buffalo on there. Wow.
oh yes, and this flute is just absolutely amazing. This is Brent Haynes, and anybody in the flute world that knows Brent Haynes' work,
Wow, that's
wow,
beautiful.
wow. And then there's one that I got from by George Flutes from a man named George Dyson. And when I contacted him about it, I said, I want one that's unfinished. I want one
Mm,
that's made but unfinished. I want it made out of cypress. I want it in this key. Um, the first one I showed, this one here, this is in the key of A minor.
can you
Um,
let us hear a little sound?
oh
I
yes,
know you're gonna
this
play
one.
something for us. Okay.
Okay, yeah, sure. I sure will here in a second. This one is G minor, and this one was Brent Haynes. Now this one I'd gotten, I had the maker send it to me unfinished because I wanted to put my own twist on it.
Mm.
And this one is by George Flutes. He made it. It was unfinished, and I am the one who dressed it.
Let me see. Oh, I see. That's beautiful.
And
Wow,
it's
what
got the
craftsmanship. I've
yeah,
honestly
it's
not seen that type of craftsmanship on flutes.
yeah. I've
That is
never seen another one that looks like it. In fact,
no.
this flute receives gifts. This flute receives gifts. So I mean, it's got different things that people have gifted to the flute. Um,
Now, is
involved with it.
that is that flute for ceremony only? That type of
Um,
flute, would you say, for ceremony?
Normally, if I'm in ceremony, this is the flute that I play. I honestly play this flute a lot. Um,
Yeah, it looks very
Not
sacred.
yes, it is, and it's very sacred to me for where I was at the time, and and it keeps growing. It keeps getting new things gifted to it, and it has its own story that grows along the way.
Right. Right. Now, I read also that you were in a serious accident. Did that enhance your spirituality?
Um, yes, quite a bit. Um, I've always been kind of a spiritual person. Um, yeah, I was in a motorcycle accident 12 years ago. Um, Honestly, I don't know how me nor my pastor made it out of that. We were sitting in traffic and had a car run into the back of us at about 45,
Wow.
50 miles an hour. And
Wow.
between, we were actually between cars, but something had told me to set off to the side of the car ahead of me, which I mean is a very safe thing to do anyways. But I'm glad I did that time. I'm glad I wasn't sitting directly
You
behind the
heard
car in front
something
of me.
that told you to go swerve, or I'm picking up
Well, I
on
was
some spirituality here. Something was guiding you, I'm picking up.
yes, yes, absolutely. And since then, I've definitely been a little bit more in tune on the spiritual side ever since then. You know, uh, at one moment during that, I actually thought I was taking my very last breath, and so yeah, that was a pretty serious moment in my life. And nowadays, I'm actually um, training as a Kero, and that is Incan shamanism from the Incan Empire down in
Mm.
Peru.
Yeah,
So
I
I'm
studied that
actually
too. A Ricky master as well.
I'm not a Reiki master.
Oh,
I'm still a student. I am
oh, a student. Okay.
yeah, I'm a student. I can't claim the master title yet.
But you're on the path.
I'm on the path.
You're on the path to that. It's
Yes, ma'am.
shamanism.
Hmm. Yeah, and and it goes beyond Reiki for me. I do a lot of chakra clearing, cleansing, ancestral healing, land healing, sound healing, um, soul retrievals. Starting to get into destiny retrievals as
Now
well.
the
And
rustic Raven Energy Medicine Holistic Healing, is that in your town?
yes, yes, that's in my town, and that's where I'm a student as well.
Oh, okay, that's awesome.
Hmm.
You can tell the audience where they're located.
Yeah, they're
Give them a little
located.
plug. Give
Yeah,
them a
they're
little
located
plug.
here in. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, the Rustic Raven is located here in Florence, South Carolina, on West Seventh Street, down towards the downtown area. Um, they have they have a lot of amazing shamans working in there. All your holistic healing needs. They also have a crystal shop. They also carry several things that I make, from my woodworking to the soap making that I do, and as well as some Native American style items that I do make. As far as like breastplates and such, and I'm looking to build on that a little bit.
Yeah, that's awesome. Can you tell us quickly the names of your CDs? Do you have any before you, or those are in the
Um,
past? Are you working on something new?
yes, the first album is actually called One Man War Party. Um, that's the very first album, and honestly, as the albums go, you can see not only the growth of this character that takes place around in the past, you see my growth as well. Like I said, it tells a dual story. Um,
Hmm.
the second album is called Strange Lands.
Strange
The third
Lands.
album, yes, that's where he starts wandering off and trying to find where he belongs. And the third album is called A Path of Many Trails. And finally, the fourth album is called Wind Warriors, and that's where
Warriors.
all of the duets take place, is on that fourth album. And I was trying to think of a name. I'd come up with the artwork for the cover, and I was showing it to the guys that are on there with me, and I don't know what to call this one. And Jeff McMullen says Wind Warriors, and I said, "Oh yeah." You don't mind if I use that, do you? He says, "No, I gave it to you." That's okay, cool. You know, yeah, I'll go with that. That's perfect. That's absolutely perfect. And and I actually am already more than halfway through the fifth album. Um,
Oh, okay.
I don't have a name for that one yet. I'm hoping to release that one by the end of the year.
How many selections on each CD?
Oh, they kind of vary. The very first One Man War Party, has I want to say 18 songs on it, over an hour
Wow,
long. Hmm. Um,
nice.
Strangelands has 14 songs on it. A Path of Many Trails also has 14 songs on it. And for this fifth one, I have about 8 recorded at the moment. And I'm not sure if I even have a goal for how many tracks are on there, but I'm going to go for a minimum of 14. And
Now,
then
are
in
all the songs, I'm sorry, all the
Mhm.
songs originals, or it's a mixture? Because
Oh, all
I love how you did the House of the Rising Sun.
yes,
That's
they're all
awesome.
original. Thank you. Yes, they're all originals. In fact, I'm actually thinking of the sixth album. I'm going to get together
Ah,
with some other musicians and share some of the stuff that I've done with other musicians, and that is actually one of them. is House of the Rising
Oh.
Sun. Hoping to do that one on there, and several others. I definitely have to look into what I have to do for for copyright and stuff on some of the other covers. I that's something I haven't explored, but I have plenty of friends that do that type of stuff. Um, so yeah, that's going to cover some more of my modern day stuff because I think after this fifth album, I think that story that the other concept albums tell is going to kind of start merging into today's world for me. And
Okay.
so, and some of those songs actually have a very uh, heart space stories for me as well. Like House of the Rising Sun, that's definitely a song that's actually very special to me. There's another one that was actually written by John Williams that I've been playing for years, which is called Binary Sunset. And I like to throw that one in every now and again at some of the festivals that I play. I don't ever play that one at in Sacred Circle at Powwow, but I play that one at festivals, and I kind of look around the audience and see who notices that because that's actually a song from Star Wars. But it's very beautiful on the flute. It's actually a very beautiful song on the flute.
Yeah, that's awesome. We're having a little technical difficulty, I think, due to
Oh,
the
okay.
weather, but we're hanging in there. My camera's a little offbeat, and your sound is a little offbeat, but we're still hanging in there, and we're getting
Okay.
across the audience. So
Okay.
before you go, would you play a few selections for me?
I would love to. Um,
I would love it too. Wow, that is beautiful.
Thank you.
Wow, is that a original song or traditional?
That was honestly something that just came out live.
Wow.
That was really unpracticed. That was a lot of times that's
Wow.
what I love about the instrument is
I hope you were recording.
what, I do it often. It's that's one thing I love about the instrument is it truly does play the song of the heart.
Oh,
And
yes.
yes, that was that was totally unrehearsed.
Oh, my
And that's what I
goodness.
love about the instrument. That's like I said when I was
Yeah.
13. I wanted to know what it felt like to make those sounds. And it just really plays your soul. It really does.
Wow, beautiful. I enjoyed you so much today, Glenn. And
Oh,
uh,
likewise.
if you would like, you can give your information to the audience. Someone wrote, absolutely beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah,
Beautiful.
I record under the name of Snowwolf. I can be found on Facebook. I can be found on Facebook under Snowwolf, or sometimes it's easier for people to type in Snowwolf Flute. All of my albums are self-produced and published through Kunaki.com. That's KUNAKI.com. On Instagram, I'm on there as Snowwolf Music, and I
Okay.
do have some
Snowwolf.
videos on YouTube as well. But I mainly use the social media platforms.
Okay, that's awesome. And I hope that one day that you can come back. I kind
Oh,
of
absolutely! I
bonded
would
with
love to
you.
be back.
I bonded with you now. Your
Right.
spirituality, your spirituality, and
Oh yes,
I
thank you.
thank you. I thank you so much, sweetheart. And Raven was right. You're a great guy, and
Thank
I
you,
hope to
and
see
thank
you.
you to her too. Let me give a shout out to her too. Thank you so much, Raven.
She's at a birthday party, so uh,
Oh, okay.
you know, she would love to have been here and give you a shout out personally today, but she will see this show, and I'll let her know that you did do it. And once again, I thank you from Native Voices Turtle Island, and I hope to see you soon.
Likewise.
Anigido, peace and blessings. Donadak, Ahoni, until we meet again. Aho,
Oh,
aho. Bye
thank
bye.
you. It's been an honor.
Same here. Bye bye.
Bye bye.